Good morning, Vero Beach. Welcome to the Financial Pulse Radio Show. I'm your host, Danny Howell, CEO of East Coast Tax and Financial Planning. Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's having a great first month of the year. We certainly are. And, there's lots of challenges out there with health, though. My goodness. I've got a couple teenagers and they're sick. They've been down for a while. A lot of people seem to be that either a flu or this just wretched cold has been moving through everywhere. But I hope that caught you, that you're feeling better. But I wanted to talk today about just what's going on, in the marketplace and with the tax bill and, the Financial Pulse radio show is all about keeping a pulse on your finances, what's going on in the world, and how do you make decisions and keep up to speed with everything. And there's a lot of noise out there, more noise than ever. And it's just the speed at which information flows and money flows. And you've got these cryptocurrency stories. You have all-time highs with all these tech stocks, and just numbers continue to climb and record highs with the Dow and record highs with the S&P and record highs with the NASDAQ. And then all of a sudden we have this beautiful tax bill that lays out before us and saves a lot of people a lot of money, a lot of corporations a lot of money, and things just feel really great. And then also things feel a little bit scary at the same time. Because if you've been around or alive for any period of time, and you've rode the roller coaster of life for a while, you know what it's like. You know what it's like where everything feels really, really good, where it just seems like nothing can go wrong, and the economy just feels all juiced up, and jobs are plentiful, and lending is abound, and all these things, and the industry is popping up everywhere, and you drive it down the road. I love it. I love it. Right now, it's like you drive down the roads that used to be, it's like, wow, man, that place has been under construction, or, the ground has been raised for a decade with nothing going on because, remnants of the last crash in the credit bubble and the mortgage meltdown, unfinished developments, half-built homes, just for years and years, almost like decaying, and all of a sudden, like now you're like seeing things pop up. You're seeing this economic energy just happening everywhere. You're hearing companies that are giving $1,000 bonuses as a result of this tax bill. You're seeing companies saying, like JP Morgan, we're giving everybody a 10% raise. Everybody's getting a 10% raise. And it's just really kind of an exciting time right now, because we've been in kind of a lull. Even though we've been in a bull market for a lot longer than the last 2 years, it's just right now it's really feeling good, because it's just, it just keeps exponentially growing. And no matter what seems to happen in the world, bad news, challenges, corporate scandal, whatever, doesn't seem to really affect what's going on in the marketplace. And I think that it's just a great time to be an investor. And I think that if you're a retiree, you probably been, breathing a sigh of relief if you have money in the market and you've been able to take advantage of some of these gains after such a long period of time of not much. But there still is this huge underlying factor to the economic system that we cannot ignore. And that is how cheap money is, how low interest rates are, and the dramatic gap between how we can make income, rent our dollars for low risk, such as bonds, such as preferred stock, things like that, dividends and money markets and CDs, compared with equities. The Facebooks, the Apples of the world, and the stark contrast between what the equity market is doing, the stock market is doing, compared to what retirees are faced with if they want to keep their money safe, ultra low interest rates. And if you look at historically speaking, what the Fed has been able to do, especially this last meltdown, in order to buffer what happened in the meltdown and to try to stimulate the economy and spur economic growth and soften the crash, they used interest rates. They used the printing press, our country's printing press, which is basically we control how much our money's worth if we want to. And quantitative easing and making lending easy for corporate America, keeping interest rates ultra low, has really helped keep the economy moving along until it gets its own legs under it. But there's still this underlying factor of what would happen if all of a sudden we saw a major correction. What is it that our economy is actually hanging on right now? What is it that it's based on right now? Because most of our economic system is based off, right now anyway, is based off of technology. It's a technological era that is just amazing, but it's unprecedented as well. And so my whole point to this thing is, and today I just wanted to talk about this is just how are you protecting yourself and what are your plans? We do a lot of workshops and webinar type of teachings and so forth. And I pose the question quite a bit, and I've done this on the show quite a bit of, what is your plan for if things don't go so well? And if you're young and you're accumulating dollars, you're feeding a 401k, an IRA, or you're building a business, or you're putting money in the market, a brokerage account or whatnot, you've got time. You've got time on your side. Father Time is your best friend. Father Time's your best friend because you've got time to ride the wave. And if you're a study of the market at all, or you listen to other pundits and so forth talk about it, over the long stretch of the market, there's really great growth. And if you jump out too early or you jump in too late and you don't have that long-term commitment to the market, then you're subject to what they call sequence of return risk. A sequence of return risk means that, if we look at the market over a 20 or 30 year time period, we can see that the line, if we track the S&P, or the line that if we track the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the line is very smooth. It's an upward trend with some downward motions and so forth, but over a long period of time, it's quite a smooth line. But the shorter that we shrink that time period, and if we chunk it down to 10 years, we chunk it down to 5 years, we chunk it down to a couple years, it looks like an EKG machine, right? It's all over the place. Because sequence of return risk is one of those things that without commitment and without the ability to have the commitment, meaning I have the financial wherewithal and then also the emotional stamina to ride the wave down so that when it bounces up, I can ride the wave up and have my long-term rate of return, my average rate of return be what it needs to be, then that's where you can fall victim to sequence of risk return. Sequence of risk return means here's one example. People, turning 65, 66 years old, decide, okay, I'm ready to retire. They retire. 6 months later, everything's going great. The market's roaring. They've had great returns over the last couple of years. And, hey, what could go wrong? This is great. They forecast out what kind of lifestyle they can live. We can travel. We can do worldwide cruises. We can, whatever your bucket list is. It doesn't matter how big or small your nest egg is, you're planning based off of the growth of what's going on in your accounts, what you have, and then using an average rate of return. And then all of a sudden, the music stops. And even if it's for a short period of time and bounces back up, even if the market just corrects itself and then bounces back up, very few people have the white knuckle capability to hold on all the way down if you are retired or just getting ready to retire, and watch your nest egg drop 10, 15, 20% to hold on all the way down so you can hold on all the way back up. Why? Because you're a logical, sensible person, right? You have to have a certain amount of money to retire and live on, and you got to say, when's enough? And you've got, you're tempted to go ahead and pull out because there was no other strategy. It's either hot or not. Right? It's either hot or not. It's either all in, I'm going to go for all growth, or I'm not. I'm going to go into cash. There's very few people that have strategies put in place safety mechanisms put in place so that when things start to go awry, that they can make logical decisions and adjustments along the way. Having an investment policy statement that prepares you for these really rough times is crucial. It's more crucial now than ever because of where we are right now in the market. When we get back, we're going to dive more into that. I'm Danny Howes with the Financial Pulse Radio Show. We'll be right back in just a bit. Well, welcome back to the Financial Pulse Radio Show. I'm your host, Danny Howes, CEO of East Coast Tax and Financial Planning. If you're just joining us, I'll just do a recap of who we are, what we do. You know, tax season's right around the corner. The e-file system for the IRS opens up January 29th. And so that's when we can start actually filing for returns. We here at East Coast Tax and Financial Planning, we have a full-service tax and accounting firm where we service small to medium-sized businesses and individuals for tax preparation, monthly bookkeeping and accounting and so forth, and tax planning for retirees and estates. We also have an insurance agency here that handles things like long-term care, annuities, life insurance, disability, and the like, insurance products that have to do with retirement and investing. And then we also have a registered investment advisory firm here. We're registered here in the state of Florida, and we manage model portfolios in the market, and we handle financial planning analysis, written financial plans and roadmaps and so forth for our clients. And the whole idea behind that is that we wanted to answer this question the best way that we possibly could, because I've heard so many people answer never, and that is this: when is the last time you sat down with your tax advisor, your accountant, somebody who handles your taxes, your insurance advisor person maybe sold you an annuity, life insurance, long-term care, things like that, and your investment advisor, the person that manages your money in the market, gives you investment advice, income advice, and so forth, all in one room talking about you, your money, and your goals. A financial board meeting, if you will. And so often I've heard the answer to that question is never. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, how big your business is, how small your business is, how much you've worked up the corporate ladder. It really doesn't matter. In many cases, these people don't even know who each other are. They don't even know the names of each other. And so how are you supposed to make investment decisions without knowing the tax ramifications first? How are you supposed to purchase insurance products like annuities and long-term care and life insurance without knowing the ramifications on the rest of your financial plan and life? And so that's why we put all these elements together under one roof, under one umbrella, so that we can make those decisions in a thoughtful, logical, and purposeful way, taking in consideration all those valuable aspects of your financial life. That's what the Financial Pulse Radio Show is all about. Last segment, we were just talking about what's going on in the stock market, how everything feels so good and it's at all-time highs. We keep breaking records, and you know, even driving down the road, you can see economic opportunity just here in our little, community of the Treasure Coast. You know, things are popping up. We got the other day I was driving down the road. It's like, wow, there's a new Starbucks popping up. Well, it's been a while since I've seen a new one of those pop up here around town. And so it's just really kind of exciting. It's an exciting place to be. But there's also hidden risks involved in this, and hidden risks means that people bury their heads in the sand when things are going really well, and they many times we fail to plan for the what ifs of what if this thing doesn't have as much legs under it as we thought it did. I mean, if you look at historically speaking, we've had 4 bull markets that averaged 4 to 6 years running. 4 bull markets that averaged 4 to 6 years running. And we've also had 4 bull markets that averaged 9 to 13 years running. And so, here we are, we're in the 9th year. And many believe that we have much farther to go, and I'm one of those believers that, with this tax bill, and if we can keep economic and global growth going, remember, we're intertwined with the world now. It's not just what we do here, and we've seen it time and time again, where things happening on the other side of the world that we had no idea what's going on while we're sleeping, all of a sudden ripple effect throughout the entire world back home here. So there's more risk than just here, but we know what that's like. And And so planning for that and knowing that, okay, if something can happen in a New York minute, what are we doing to prepare for that? And are we properly structured to handle the what ifs scenario of what if this market doesn't continue to do what it's been doing? So how do you prepare yourself? Well, let's talk about that. I only have a few minutes left, but let's just talk about some key things that you can do to protect yourself. See, most people, if you go to a financial advisor's office or a stockbroker's office, a lot of advisors, and I hate to say most, that's not fair. There's a lot of great planners out there. But what you'll find, though, right now is everybody feels like a genius. Our office is on Cardinal Drive in Vero Beach, right there on the island, and it's almost like a little miniature Manhattan here on the Treasure Coast. There's financial advisors everywhere, and everybody feels like a genius right now because the market's been ripping and roaring, and everybody's feeling good about it, and all the clients are happy, and so on and so forth. But that's not where it all starts. Growth is not where it starts. What you need to do as an individual, what you need to do as a business owner, is you first have to put things in place for stability in your financial house. So I'm a big firm believer in the first thing you got to do is you got to dial in your income. If you're a retiree, you look at what are my guaranteed income sources, pensions, Social Security, annuities, things like that are in your financial repertoire or your ability to purchase. How can I get my guaranteed income to solve my basic needs so it doesn't matter what happens in the world, I'm set as far as handling my needs in order to maintain my lifestyle well into retirement until I pass and so on and so forth. The second major factor that you have to have is a liquidity, a rainy day fund, that Dave Ramsey talks about, an emergency fund, right? I call it pillow money. It's that number that you have to have no matter what in order to get by if there's a major life event. The unexpected yet expected events like tires on the car, air conditioner going out, roof, Hurricane Irma, you name it, all these different things that can happen. Having that pillow money, liquidity, instant access to cash, it makes you feel good and comfortable, sleep at night, and protect yourself. Once you have income dialed in, once you have liquidity, then you have to take a look at your asset protection. How can I protect myself? What if we have a premature death of a spouse? If you're retired and you lose your spouse, you're going to lose one of the Social Securities. You only get to keep the higher of the two. Many people don't realize that. So you have to plan on, okay, well, if I lose that income, where's that income going to come from? Or maybe there's not survivorship on a pension that you're collecting, or maybe it's only a partial survivorship, 50% or 75% of your spouse gets when you pass. So you have to plan for the unexpected event of a premature death, or just, hey, none of us are getting out of here alive, so we know one of us is going to pass before the other. So how are we going to plan for that? The other element of surprise can be a long-term care situation. And we're seeing long-term care is unprecedented of how many people are having to use it. If you're retired, you probably know somebody or know multiple people that are being affected by this. If you look at GE right now, GE just did a humongous write-down on their long-term care insurance arm because now people are cashing in those policies. And they don't have enough reserves in order to keep up with the demand because of how rapidly people are using long-term care. I could spend an hour or longer on long-term care. But protecting yourself for a long-term care event. Long-term care insurance is not to protect you as far as your health goes. It's to protect your assets because Medicaid or Medicare, it'll chip in and pay for it, but you got to be broke first. And then, of course, there's other insurance elements, property and casualty and the like. Okay, and then we move on from asset protection to then strategic growth. So we have your income in place. It's solid, it's certain, it's predictable, allows us to be spontaneous. We have liquidity. We have a rainy day fund, emergency liquid cash we have available. We protect each other, right, with asset protection of making sure that we've got enough life insurance, not too much, but not too little, enough long-term care protection elements there, even if it's just a plan of how we're going to pay for it if and when it happens. Then we look at growth. Too many people start at growth. Because if you have your income dialed in, you have liquidity, and you've protected each other, then now you can do a risk assessment for yourself of how you feel about how much risk you're willing to take on in the market, because all those other elements have been taken care of for you. And you can make much more intuitive and sound investment decisions and educated decisions because you have those other things dialed in your financial life. And of course, last but not least, not one of those decisions can be made without knowing the tax ramifications of all those decisions. Insurance decisions have tax ramifications, okay? Investment decisions have tax ramifications. Annuities and income and required minimum distributions have tax ramifications. So you have to have all those things in place in order to be prepared in this market, especially if you're close to retirement or already retired. Well, we already ran out of time again this week. Next week, 10:30 a.m. right here on Waxy Radio. Tune in every single Thursday, 10:30 a.m. The Financial Pulse. My name is Danny Howell, CEO of East Coast Tax and Financial Planning. Go to eastcoasttaxandfinancial.com. Make sure you protect that money, folks, but most importantly, make sure you know who and what you're protecting it from. We'll talk to you next week.